All right, hello and welcome. So, you're prepping students for the Cambridge B2 first exam? You definitely know the drill. And let's be honest, sometimes it can feel like a real grind. Well, today, we're going to flip that script and turn exam prep into a game. Let's dive right in.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? The endless practice tests, the same old drills. It's just so easy for both you and your students to feel like you're going through the motions. And keeping that spark alive when the pressure is on, that is tough.
But what if we could actually change that? In this explainer, we're going to break down 7 super simple, student-centered hacks, one for each part of that notoriously tricky reading and use of English paper. These are all designed to be dynamic, really effective, and, best of all, easy to use in your classroom tomorrow.
Ready to get started? Think of these next strategies as your secret weapons for beating those exam blues and building some real, lasting skills in your students. Okay, first up, we're diving into parts 1 through 4. You know, these are the sections that really get down to the nitty-gritty of your students' grammar and vocabulary knowledge. So, part 1 tests what's called lexical awareness. You know, things like collocations and fixed expressions. Your students get a gap in a sentence and 4 words to choose from. It sounds simple, but it can be surprisingly tricky. Our first hack is the phrase detective challenge. Instead of letting students just look at the 4 options, have them cover them up. Their job is to focus only on the words around the gap. They basically become detectives, hunting for clues in the phrases to predict what the missing word should be. And here's why this is so effective. This simple little shift forces students to stop thinking word by word and start thinking in chunks of language. They start to build this amazing intuition for collocations and what phrases sound natural, which are the exact skills Part 1 is designed to test.
Building right on that, we get to part 2, the open-close. This time, the safety net is gone. There are no options to choose from. Students have to come up with that single correct word all on their own, and it's usually a grammar word, like an article or an auxiliary verb. The hack here is called one word, one rule, and it is brilliantly simple. For every single word a student fills in, they also have to write down the grammar rule that explains their choice. So if they write the, they have to explain why the definite article is the right call there. Now, this is so powerful because it just completely eliminates guesswork. It pushes students to be deliberate, to be analytical. They're not just finding an answer, they are actively reinforcing those core grammar rules that they need for the entire exam. Okay, next up, we've got part 3, word formation. This is that classic part of the test where students get a STEM word and have to change its form, using prefixes and suffixes, to make it fit perfectly in the gap. To really master this, we use the word family race. Give the class a STEM word like comfort, set a timer for, say, 90 seconds, and challenge them to brainstorm as many related words as they possibly can. Comfortable, uncomfortable, comforting, comfortably, discomfort. It's fast, it's competitive, and it's super effective. And using a simple table like this one can really help students organize all those words and start to spot the patterns between the nouns, the verbs, and the adjectives. This kind of rapid-fire practice is just fantastic for building their knowledge of word families. And now for part 4, keyword transformation. Ah, yes, this is often the one that students dread the most, right? They have to rewrite a sentence using a given keyword while keeping the meaning exactly the same. We can untangle this with something called the transformation tangle. So instead of asking them to write from scratch, you give them the jumbled up pieces of the target sentence. Their only job is to put the puzzle back together correctly. Think of it just like a puzzle. By moving these word blocks around, whether it's physically or digitally, students get a really hands-on feel for sentence structure. It makes that whole abstract process of transformation feel way more concrete and a lot less scary. All right, deep breath. We've hacked the grammar. Now let's switch gears and look at the long-form reading sections. That's parts 5, 6, and 7. Where those critical comprehension skills are absolutely everything. So part 5 gives students a long text followed by multiple choice questions. And these questions test everything, from details and gist to the author's attitude and opinions. Okay, the hack here is the blind read prediction game. First, students read the text, but, and this is key, without looking at the questions. Then, they try to predict what the questions might be about. Finally, they compare their own ideas to the actual questions. This simple process shifts their focus from just hunting for keywords to reading for a deep, genuine understanding. Next up is Part 6, the gapped text. You know this one, whole paragraphs have been taken out and students have to slot them back into the right places. This is a true test of their ability to follow the logical flow and structure of a text.
To really master this, we play Link Clue Bingo. Students scan both the main text and the missing paragraphs, and they're hunting for specific cohesive devices. Pronouns like it or they, connectors like however or therefore, and other referencing words. It gamifies the process and makes them really good at spotting the logical glue that holds a text together. And finally, we have Part 7, multiple matching. Here, students read several short texts and have to match them to a series of questions. The name of the game here is skimming and scanning for specific information and doing it under pressure. The perfect hack for this is the Skim and Snap Speed Challenge. You read a question out loud, and the students race to shout out which text, A, B, C, or D, contains the answer. It's high energy, it's competitive, and it directly trains the rapid reading skills they absolutely need to succeed here.
So there you have it, 7 hacks for 7 parts of the paper. But these are way more than just fun games. They really represent a whole new playbook for how you can approach exam prep in your classroom.
Each one of these activities is designed to build those underlying subskills, things like understanding collocation or inference, that are essential not just for passing the exam, but for becoming a really proficient user of English. They build confidence from the ground up. You know, the real win here is the shift you'll see in what your students can do. After using these strategies, they won't just be answering questions. They'll be able to explain what is being tested, diagnose their own difficulties, and apply different strategies with genuine confidence. Now that is a game changer. And that brings us to our final thought. This was never just about teaching to the test. It's about empowering students. So the real question for you is, how can you take these ideas and adapt them to build not just your students' scores, but their lasting confidence as English users? Thanks for watching.